Mute. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome to Up Sis Up. This is Women's Empowerment Radio, and I am your host, Dr. Marcea, and I am your Master Destiny Life Coach, and I'm also the girl boss of Girl Boss Life Academy. And this is another episode where I am bringing powerful women who are doing the darn thing. And here at Up Sis Up, we are about empowering women. Okay. We're also empowering everybody else. And you all get the overflow if you're not a woman. But come on in and get some of these nuggets. And so here at Up Sis Up, what we do is that we help you to rise up. We help you to speak up. And then we help you to boss up, both in life and in leadership. And so tonight, somebody put tonight in the chat. Okay, tonight we are going to bling it up. Okay, somebody put some bling, somebody put some gems, put some whatever you got in there. Go ahead and put it in the chat because tonight what we're doing, we are taking it to another level. We are changing things up. We are accessorizing not only the outside, but we're going to talk about accessorizing on the inside. And so I'm going to introduce my guest. My guest is Kisha Carrington, and she is a board certified family nurse practitioner, a proud second generation immigrant from Trinidad and Tobago. And she is in the business of building. And what she is building wellness, she is building wealth, and she is building women by providing quality medical care, by being the CEO of Exotic Gems Boutique, as well as coaching women to be resilient. So without further ado, Kisha Carrington, welcome to the stage. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? I can see that you're great. No need to ask.
Look, yes, I am. Look, I'm feeling rather fabulous. All right. And you
Oh,
look pretty fabulous yourself.
thank you. Just took a little time.
Hello, Tan. I see you over there blinging it up. And
Okay.
so I gave the listeners just a snapshot of who you are. But I'm going to ask you if you would just give us just a couple of extra things that you think are important for us to know who you are. Go ahead.
I am a phenomenal woman. I am. I walk and talk my belief. I teach what I teach by example. I'm not just going to give you some lip service, but I'll be able to show you by who I am, what I do, the decisions I make, the actions I take, and the way I respond. So that's me.
She done dropped him out with the mic. She came out swinging, and I love it. I love every single word. I love the confidence. I love the attitude. I love the presence, and that is what I'm about as well. I'm about helping women and pulling out and making sure that we are 100% good out the block, right? And we're gonna get into some of what has happened or some of the things, the touch points that have caused you to get here. But it
Mhm.
is so powerful to hear you speak it in such a confidence, a knowing. You know how they talk about you knowing that you know that you know that you know God, right? You have a knowing that you start off by saying you're a phenomenal woman. And with that, I want to ask you this question. Okay. How how long how long did it take for you to be able to say that?
All 51 years.
Oh,
And I will add to that to say that phenomenal, the word phenomenal is an adjective that I have used to describe myself a few decades ago, but I can say that I absolutely live in that today. So that
mm,
understanding even for myself has evolved from when I first attached it to myself to now.
I love it. And we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper, but I don't want this moment to go by. Okay. What Kisha has shared with us is that it took 51 years of living in a place where she was operating underneath her potential. All right. And if that is you, okay, if you thought about that, I mean, I just want to put it out there into the space. That's how I lived as well. I lived those 50 years also living underneath of my potential. And so I cannot wait just to hear some of the things that have transpired to get you to this place. But before we go there, I know, and when I read your bio, well, one, you know what? I want to say congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I want to applaud you for getting here. And as I said, we're gonna talk about that more on the back end. But you mentioned, or you shared in the bio, that you are a second generation immigrant from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly. Am I saying that correctly?
Tobago. You got to say it
Tobago.
correct. Tobago.
Tobago. Thank you. So you say it. Say the whole thing.
Tobago. Trinidad and
Tobago.
Tobago.
Trinidad and Tobago. Okay. And we talk about our roots. We talk about where we're from. And it's so very important because that's the journey from where we start and where we end. But where we come from helps to determine who we are. And I want to know, coming from your roots, how much more important or imperative was it for you to be successful?
Absolutely necessary. I grew up, well, in my earlier years in my grandparents' home, and excellence was synonymous with Carrington. It still is. When you meet the clan, it still is. But there was no option. So no matter what you thought you might settle for, there were some standards that you had, some levels that you absolutely had to have accomplished. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Mm.
Um, so that certainly was, a lot of the backbone that it was non-negotiable.
That's good. Because the thing that I know, just personally, I know that particularly for African American women, that we carry a lot of weight on our shoulders, where you said it was imperative, okay, that you had to succeed. There's no other option. But I asked you that question because I know that it has to be on a whole nother level when your family is from another place and you've transplanted into a whole new country, and it takes it to a whole nother level. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, just even understanding how did the generation before me get here? How did my parents arrive here? Why? And it took me, I think I was in my 40s when I really just said to my mother, well, why'd you come here? Now, not that I had
Mm.
not heard, the story of, she was already a professional person, and what the choices were, but why the United States, and why not someplace else? So understanding a little bit of that, even in knowing what the life um, was important and has been important. And I
Mhm.
pass that on to my children as well.
Yes, yes. And I know that, so go ahead, let's speak to your children. And I know you have a mission. You have a passion. What is that passion?
Ooh, I have a few passions, but absolutely that my children will resonate and do better than their parents. That they will, I will establish legacy, that they will understand a whole lot of how we got to where we are, how I get have gotten to where I am. And I certainly have, done a lot of teaching along the way. So I remind them that if I wasn't serious early on, our life now would even have been completely different because of some of the things I would have had to settle on, along the way. But that certainly they themselves have got to make decisions that will positively impact their future and the generations that come behind them. That they should always think about what their footprint will be on this earth. On this earth.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I have actually I've met your children and they are phenomenal young men. And it's a pleasure just to see you interacting with them. So congratulations on that as well for leaving a legacy, for making sure we as parents, we can't hope that our children turn out the right way. We have to be active. And some days it gets hard. Some days the days turn into nights and the nights turn into days.
Absolutely.
And you're like,
Absolutely.
Lord, help me, help them. So I know. So
And that's
so let's
men and women. I just wanted to say,
oh,
I've got
say the same thing.
the boys
Oh,
and the
that's
girls
right. That's right. I forgot you have an older daughter and she is doing some
too.
big things. Tell me what she's doing these days.
Oh boy, which one? I have so I have the two girls.
Oh, you two girls. Okay, well tell me. Go ahead, share.
The oldest one, she actually switched her career path completely. Before she was actually pursuing medicine, and recognized early that she didn't want to, deal with people. That was going to be a little bit more than what she could sign up for. And she also recognized that research wasn't necessarily where she wanted to spend her time, even though she went pretty far. But today she does programming, and
Mm,
in her current position, she is the goat, I want to say, for that organization. So it's whatever she says. She's she's the brain in her field, the specialist in her field, which is a wonderful position to be in. Um, and she's a great leader herself. I push her in a few other ways too. And I remind her that in her younger years, every time she's listened to me, she's been successful. So
I love
my
it.
other daughter, um, quantitative analytics, mathematics is her major, was her
Okay.
major. So she is doing her thing, and commanding her own pace and growth every year. So
Love it. I
it's good.
love it. And I want to just highlight something you said about your oldest daughter.
Mhm.
And what you mentioned is that she started in medicine, and we're going to talk about medicine as well a little bit. But she got to a place where she realized what she was doing was not what she wanted to continue to do,
Mhm.
and that is such. We could have a whole show just on that.
Yes.
Having the awareness and having the courage to say, I want to pump the brake. I want to stop. I want to get off of this train because it's not taking me where I want it to go.
Yeah.
And how many times, and I'm just thinking about in my own life, have I known I was going in the wrong direction, but because I started it, I felt like I couldn't stop the train. So you're nodding
And
your head. Go ahead.
in
Take it.
so many aspects, and in her regard, as a young adult at the time, I want to also say that I think support was the other thing that she didn't expect to have. When
Mm-hmm.
she finally had the conversation with me, that, mommy, I think I don't want to do this. I don't know if I really like this anymore. And I said, well, girl, we don't have time for you to sit down there and waste years to then realize that that's not. By that time, she was working on her doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I said, you don't have 6, 7 years to put in to anything to then realize, when you felt it all along earlier on, that that's not what you want to do, because you're not going to be doing it for me. You're doing it for yourself. And she told me that she was surprised. She was not expecting that response from me. She, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
thought that, I would have felt that she should have just finish it. And I'm like, no, no, this is you now.
Oh, so first of all, I want you to do this. Give me some strength on that because you did the thing right, and I see them guns. Let me see them guns again. We got some guns in the house, y'all. Right? So so for her to have the wherewithal and the courage to come to you, And then for you to turn around and to validate, to support what she is wanted to do, that is the 1-2 punch for how to survive, how to support our young people, how to support each other. How many
Mm-hmm.
times have we decided, oh, you know what, I'm not going to get the support, so I'm just going to continue moving.
Right.
I'm a physician, but I can tell you the number of days I was like, is this what I want to do? But I'm like, I can say now, I didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't, because I was like, what else am I going to do next? I don't know. I'm already in it. But I love how you said that she now is, you said she's the GOAT. She is now running the show and doing what she loves. And
Yes.
that is so, 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 so important.
Yes.
Okay. So let's transition to medicine. And I know that you are a certified family nurse practitioner. The
Mm-hmm.
first thing I want you to do, I want you to share what that is for those that are listening.
Okay. So, a family nurse practitioner, well, a nurse practitioner is an advanced practice registered nurse. So, she or he did go and get their license as a registered nurse. They would have achieved their baccalaureate degree, so their bachelor's, and then gone back to school. If you chose that route now, you're going on a doctorate level, and that you'll have the doctor of nursing practice. For myself at the time, it was a master's that was the highest that you could go. They didn't have the doctor of nursing practice just yet. And so I did my master's. I went back to school and did additional training. And once I completed my degree, so I have a master's of science in nursing as a family nurse practitioner, which means that I can take care of anyone across the lifespan from birth till death. I did also go and sit and take my exams so that I am board certified nationally.
Awesome.
And so that
Awesome.
there are different specialties, but that's mine.
Awesome. And so this is part of you building wellness. And so as you have practiced medicine, can you tell me? So it's two separate questions. One is, what is your greatest joy from doing what you do? But then I also want to know, what is your greatest struggle?
So my greatest joy is that aha moment when I've broken that knowledge deficit barrier for the person that I am taking care of, the person that is in front of me, be it explaining for them just normal body function that they didn't connect the dots about why they're feeling the way they did, why what they're doing is contributing to the way they're feeling, and then what leads us to prescribe or what leads us to tell them that they need to do certain things differently. So my joy is that aha moment when the person actually can understand and can now take those nuggets on and do better. And I tell people all the time, if you're in the office or if I'm doing a visit, whatever it is, your time with me is so short, right? In an extended time, if it's a new visit, maybe you got 30 minutes, maybe you got 35 minutes, but in truth, it's about 15 minutes. You're going home to do all the work. See you in 3 months means that you're going home to do all the work. So it's foolish of me to waste my time and yours with not giving you the tools that you need so that you could do your job, at least to the best of your ability. And I encourage folks to always ask questions. There's no wrong question. There's no foolish question. Um, so that's my joy when I've gotten through to someone and they got it, they understand, and we can move forward. Um, my biggest struggle, my biggest struggle is when I recognize where we are as a people in this world, in this country, in our society. When I realize the level of ignorance, and I don't mean that derogatory, but the lack of understanding that we have. Um, and oftentimes it's not by choice. Most times it's not by choice. It's just by lack of exposure, lack of access.
Mm-hmm.
When I have to see, maybe I am in the home doing an in-home visit. And so I see what the environment is like and what that means and connecting the dots, that inner turmoil for me, um, the reality of what that person's scenario is, and then now to step out of that emotional experience to still empower them to want to do better in spite of.
Mm, that is good. And so my next question to follow that up is how has your journey as a nurse practitioner shaped you and who you are today?
Ooh. Well, I want to say that probably I shaped a nurse practitioner before I got to it because um, I've always been very vocal. I've always been articulate in terms of holding a ground. If you meet me, you may think that I am so quiet and bashful, but that's because I like to observe and take things in. Because when I open my mouth to start talking, I'm gonna have a whole lot to say, and I like to make sure that I've assessed things for what they are. And I do, I do recognize I'm a human being too, right? I learn every day, so I don't have to be correct, but I will voice what I see. So I think the personality that I brought to my career path, I remembered when I chose nursing, I was thinking about, I don't know where I want to live as an adult. I might want to travel. I might want to, and so let me do something that I could take those credentials elsewhere. And I came from being an engineering major at that
Really?
time.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. So I chose nursing, thinking of that, that ability to, just I can hustle a little bit, make some money, and keep it going and live wherever. But it wasn't until I started really thinking about being a nurse practitioner, going back to school to do that master's, that I then said, you know what, I am a nurse. So I didn't just choose to do nursing. I didn't just choose that this is going to be where I'll have a job. I live to be that person. That's who I am. I understand the science behind what I do. I understand the psychosocial, and now we talk about the social determinants of care. So that's basically all the other factors that people have to live with when I talk about at home, your jobs, your whatever it is, the other factors that impact you being well. And so all of that together culminates in who I am today.
Yeah.
I hope
I
I
heard
answered
you
that
say,
question with all
yes. Look, I heard you say you chose it. And one of the things that I have found in life is that we always don't think we have choices, whether we have choice. We're given it's either black or white, or it's left or right. But we have choices. We have the ability to choose what we do next. And it's more than just two options. And so when you have the whole world in front of you, there are so many other avenues. Even when we talk about medicine, there's multiple
Mhm.
ways to do medicine. You don't have to be just you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be, a nurse. You don't have to be a nurse practitioner. You can be a radiology tech. You can be a phlebotomist. You can be, I mean, there's so many, you can be a physician assistant. There's just so
Mhm.
many multiple ways in order to do medicine. And so we use that same paradigm when we're thinking about any and everything else. There isn't just one guy, right? Or two guys, right? It isn't just this job or that guy or that job. We have options, and that we should be able to exercise them in order to get to a place where we want to be. And now that we're happy, and now that we're thriving, and now we can be the GOAT in that sphere of the world. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about options. Okay, so we talked about you building wellness. Now we're going to pivot into building wealth. And I know you are sitting in the Exotic Gems Boutique. So can you share with us how you got to what it is that you're doing right now, and just tell me about your business.
Okay. So coming into 2020, in 2019, when I thought about, well, what else do I want to do? I want to do something different. Um, One of the things I thought about and decided that I would not let the year end without doing was establishing a business. Now, I always thought about wanting to do some women empowerment type activities, and really just in helping young girls. That was my thought, my focus, to be able to offer some guidance, to be able to do, what we do when we talk with our elders, and get the verbal lesson, but something a lot more organized. So I thought about that. But along the way, I also thought about how to begin with just a business. And jewelry is something that I have always loved. I remember that I had a cousin who she used to sew. And and I was about 11 or so, 10, 11 years old, she would see fabric, buy the cloth, and tomorrow morning she'd be wearing a dress. And I would know that that was the cloth. I would know that was it, because I was with her when she bought the cloth. But the thing about it was that she always had accessories to go with whatever she wore. And I always admired that. So when I had the opportunity to encounter paparazzi and see the fashion jewels, and they are very inexpensive, I was like, oh, that's a hobby for me. Like, I would just enjoy something like that. And so I had a lot of other thoughts, but I decided to sign up. It was February 29th, because that was a leap year of 2020. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. So when I got my kit, now signed up, it's like, okay, so how am I going to market myself? What am I going to do? And so in its own way, it being the pandemic, it was a nice opportunity for me to just dive in. This became my therapy, because it was my distraction from all the other chaos that was existing in the world at the time. And I've just had such a good time selling jewelry. So that's,
Yes, yes. Look, so I have a confession to make.
uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, y'all put somebody to put in the chat. Put a one if you want to know my confession. Okay. So my confession is that during the pandemic, look, I didn't sell jewelry, but I bought a whole lot. That was my thing. I mean, I'm thinking paparazzi jewelry is like, each piece is like $5.
Yes.
Some of the higher end pieces, I actually have one on now. This is my Z, one of my Z pieces that I probably bought during the pandemic, right? But it was something that it was like, it helped me, because I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's cute. And so it would come in the mail and I would get all so excited. But I had no place to go. Nothing to do with it, but it was something that helped with that transition. And so what you're saying is that it was something that was birthed kind of right before the pandemic, but it kind of helped follow you through. So
Yes.
tell me how tell me how, as far as wealth building, how is it? Because I have some friends who also do paparazzi. How
Mhm.
is your business different, or how do you see the paparazzi company as far as it answering or fulfilling the role that you needed to fill?
Well, one of the things, and I guess I want to say this was one of the bigger things of it, was me also teaching my children about building business. And my older son, I call him my assistant manager. These days he's a little bit too big for his britches to do some of the other stuff, but we absolutely dove into sole proprietorships, LLCs, understanding what it is to be creative about display, about how you would sell, about what you would do. One of the things that I had started doing was happy hour on Friday, and I did have some type of drink, some type of thing, and it was like a party. Nobody could go anywhere, so we'd be on Zoom talking about different stuff. Folks would be putting whatever in the chat, showing jewelry, and having a little toast and things like that. So um, it really helped, not just for me to say that I established a business, but for me to teach my children how important it is to have your own, understand the details, the pieces, the steps along the way, to establish it. So being able to file so that now you're a legally established entity. Understanding how you have to keep track of your sales, and then also your expenses, understanding your budget, having everything together for taxes, doing your own inventory, organizing, developing systems, because obviously I started smaller. But as my inventory grew, I had to rethink my space. How am I going to, so all these things, and then parallel that to so many other things that we do in life, right? So
Mhm.
being able to now plan, we'll always say, man plan, and God, you know, God's the one who's in control, right?
Right.
However, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Exactly.
So you have to
Exactly.
at least have some type of an outline for what you want to do.
Exactly. And the way that my pastor he said it is that we should have a plan and write it in pencil, and then you come and you let God write it in pen, edit it. And because if you don't have a plan, you're not getting anywhere. There's no if you have no vision for your life, you will just be wandering aimlessly, and then you wake up and 20 years have gone by. And so, but I want to stay with the accessories.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when we think about, and you mentioned your, was it your cousin who
Yes.
who okay, your
Yep.
cousin, right? And who always had a nice piece of jewelry. And when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about accessorizing our life, the thing that I like, and this segment is called Bling It Up. If you're just now joining, this segment is called Bling It Up, where we're going to change it up, not only on the outside, but on the inside as well. And so the thing about accessorizing is that you can have on the exact same outfit, change out the accessories, and come with a complete different look,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I'm going to put this is a life coaching moment. You could have the same circumstance, but you approach it from a different mindset, accessorize it differently. And now you have done a 360, a 180, whichever degree,
Mm-hmm.
whatever shape you want to say. Okay. But now you are walking in life differently. Okay,
Absolutely.
so this is hashtag accessorize your life. If there's something that you don't like, change it. Okay, if there's something that you've always wanted to do and something's been holding you back, do it. Okay, Rich Live and Linda, they talked about doing it afraid. Do it afraid. And so, Kisha, I want you to just share with me maybe a story, how you I alluded to this earlier, just how you got from where you were to where you are and how you accessorized your life.
Ooh. So I had a separation, right? And that separation didn't compromise my ability to choose to be successful. It just made me sit for a moment and think about how I'm going to make that happen. How am I going to still meet the needs of my household without compromising who I am, without falling short of who I am? Now, granted, there's only but so many hours in a day. And so you think about those things and you start acting them out, acting out the roles rather with an S that you need to, play. And it is not as easy when you're actually doing it. But that doesn't mean that you fall short or that you should stop. And so one of the things, and I'll give you a simple example, was the holidays. So Christmas and Thanksgiving, those are times that everybody wants to spend with family. And you have to now deal with visitation, and you have to deal with, okay, well, whose household they're going to be in, this time, and then who's coming home from college, and who's going to be, so everybody who's coming wants to see the whole household together. And then I decided that we would just have Christmas in my house the whole weekend before Christmas actually is. So if that's the year when they're supposed to spend Christmas with the other parent, then Christmas in my house is going to be the weekend before. And when I tell you, that was the one of the best, most exhilarating things I had ever done way back when. I'm telling you, the tree was up, the gifts were bought, the food that you eat for Christmas was prepared from the breakfast, whatever we did for breakfast, right down to lunch, Christmas movies, grab bags. We did the whole kit and caboodle so that we still had a family time in my
Yes.
house with everyone present.
Yes. All right. Come on. Give it to me. Come on. Come on. Y'all. Kisha, I got my face gets tingly when something major is happening. And so I have walked that walk. And the thing that the pivot, why this is such a big deal, is that we are living under parameters and we think that we are now limited. We think that we are now restricted because it's not going to be the way that we thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But as you described it, and as I have also walked it, you know what? These are the circumstances. And now I'm trying to back to choices. Now I get to choose how I want this to go, given the circumstances, given the hand that I'm dealt. And so now, when the limitation was it's one day, it's Christmas
Mm-hmm.
Day, but you were
Right.
like, you know what? That's not the parameters that I have to stay within. I have to, and I think your camera just went off, Kisha. And so the when you now say I can now move the celebration to a different day. And now I can have a full Christmas in a different place with all of the family members there. And so that is such a powerful example of how you say you make lemonade out of lemons. Okay. It's a powerful example of you not settling for what someone has given you, but you take the circumstance and then you make a shift. And so I'm going to go to the chat. And I want to, if you have been in that circumstance where you have had to make the pivot, I want you to put two. Okay, I want you to put number two. If you are feeling and hearing what I'm saying, instead of feeling upset, instead of feeling like you've lost something, but you now can pivot into a situation where now you are still, I'm going to say, in control. Okay, you can control the parts that you can control. You can't control what other people have, but you can control what you have. So important, so pivotal. And that is the difference between, I'm going to say, being a girl boss and you wishing that the circumstances would be different. There is a thing that I do for my vision board where I take the difference between a wish and a goal. Okay, I want somebody in the chat. I want you to say wish versus goal. And when you talk about a wish, when you talk about a wish, there is that thing where you don't think the thing's going to happen. Okay, you don't think it's going to happen when you're talking about wishing. Okay, and I want you to, for those in the chat, for those that are listening, I want you to think about those things that you say, you know what, I wish. Those are things that we don't even think that are going to happen. But when you now have a goal, now you have something practical. Now you have something that you're going to be able to go forward into. Now you have some mini steps. You talk about SMART goals. That's when you break down the bigger goal into something smaller. When you have measurable goals, measurable time points in between, now you can take what I call empowered action. And that's the action that's going to get you to the goal that you set. Okay? When you start taking that empowered action, now you're able to get to the destination that you have said you wanted to go to. Okay. And so this is just so important, so impactful. And that's how you boss up both in life, and that's how you boss up both in leadership. And so if you're in the chat, if you have some questions for Kisha, go ahead and put them in the chat. We're talking about her building wealth, talking about her building wellness. And the third thing that we're going to talk about is her building women. Okay. And I'm going to share something with you. And the thing is that for those that were, I'm going to reset the room a little bit. And so we have Kisha Carrington. She is the owner of Exotic Gems. She's also a nurse practitioner. And the other thing about her that I didn't share that I'm going to share now is that she is also a client. And when she came on the scene on the call today, she started off by talking about, she said, I am phenomenal. I am powerful. And she will say what she needs to say in a way that's going to get her to her results. And I am just so ecstatic just to hear all of the growth that she has come through. And as I share just some of what is kind of where we are, I just wanted just to give those. Oh, we have I see wish versus goal in the chat, and so I just want to stay here for a second. And so when you have a wish, it's something again that is not, you don't think it's going to happen. But when you have a goal, it's something now that you have some direction to. And so I know we're having a little bit of technical issue on the video, but I think we're getting her back. Kisha, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know what is the problem with the video. I
Okay.
but I'm here. I can hear you and everything.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna shout out my engineering staff for a second, just to see if there's anything that we can do to get her video back on.
It's going to be
I'm
on
sure
her
it was my
end.
device.
She can hear
Is
you,
it on
but
my end?
yeah, it's on your
I think
end.
so. I think so. Okay.
I don't
So
know.
so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask you a question. So as I'm not sure if you heard me that we were talking about you building wellness. I told you we talked about you building wealth. And now we're going to talk about you building women. And I did share with the listeners that you were in my program, Women Ready to Move. And as when you came on the air tonight,
Hmm.
I could hear you came out the block just strong, talking about you were phenomenal, that you were powerful. And I want you just to talk about your journey. And then my next question is going to be, now we're going to transition that into the women that you serve currently. Go ahead.
So I cannot even identify at what point I like had that aha moment, like, that's me. I have always done so many things. And in truth, I just last night while I was again doing so many other things, stopped for a minute and I thought, goodness, I've tried to carve out a block of time that could be untouched and that I could potentially not engage in something else, not sign up for something else. And it never fails. I, I guess this is part of who I am. But I remember years ago when there was an endocrinologist that I worked with who saw me in passing and mentioned that she had this non for profit organization, Caribbean Diabetes Initiative Incorporated, and that she was in the process of putting things together to make a first mission trip. And would I be interested? And I was like, of course, but of course, hands down,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that was back in 2010 or so, because the first trip was in 2011, and that trip was to Tobago. And the experience that I had, the feelings that I had in that trip, we touched close to 500 people in screening, you know, and just
Wow.
that human connection, not just treatment, education, and then it was my home place. Like it was like, yeah, I'm working in my place. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
So
That's good.
fast forward, I became the president of the organization and got to really put a lot of my leadership skills and my own energy into promoting, developing, and taking our trip, for that mission at the time. And I think that that would have been my first, so that would have been around 2017, the first time that I really kind of stepped out of myself for a moment and looked at all that I had done, but not just done hands on, but hearing other people talk about how I had motivated them, how
Mhm.
looking at me in whatever I was doing had caused them to step up in their own way, to do things that they hadn't even thought about, to be involved, and also to recognize the humility behind it. Because
Mhm.
you're human, right? And so all of that, and then also looking back at my role as a parent.
Mhm.
So yes, I look at my young adult daughters that I have different conversations with them, obviously because they're adults, and we can talk in a different way, but I'm still their mother, and they still respect me, and they show me appreciation. But I also have these conversations with my sons who hold their own. And then again, stepping out of the room and listening to others who would have just encountered them for the first time talk about what their impression was, what the level of conversations they might have had with them, how they perform in school, listen to my patients talk, their families talk, and then in precepting, I had the opportunity to now, yes, I'm teaching nursing students, I'm teaching nurse practitioner students, and hear their take on it. And it just gave me that opportunity to kind of stop and say, you reach. It's like you reach. You reach in terms of you've been working all these years doing this thing, whatever it is, whatever came in, whatever presented itself. Okay, I got to get this job done. I got to get this parenting done. We got to make it to this show. We got to make it to this game. We got to,
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
And not even recognizing my own evolution, my own transformation until listening to others' impression of me. And so thinking about, well, what are some of the things that I would have liked to have understood a little bit better if I were that young person now, if I were stepping out into the world now, encountering, life, because yes, I had to pursue education because that was non-negotiable for my family background. That was the equivalent of success,
Yeah.
but that did not exclude me from what life brings. It did not exclude me from the challenges that will come in different relationships, that will come from finance, that will come from, all these other things. So when I think about the lessons I learned, and I thank God all the time that I am healthy, and I thank Him for the day, but I am healthy and able to, then that encourages me and dictates that I need to do that for others in
Yeah.
whatever way that is.
Yeah. And if I could share, and so I'm just going to reset the room. I'm talking to Kisha Carrington, and she is a nurse practitioner and the owner of Exotic Gems Boutique. And I remember that moment. I think that another light bulb went off. And you mentioned about how education was non-negotiable. And I remember that moment where you were considering going back to school to get some additional degrees or an additional degree in order to to teach, in order to share. And I want those that are listening to also understand is that you do not need more degrees in order to share out of the experience that you have already gone through. Do you remember that moment?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that the life you've lived, the experiences you've had, have taught you, have prepared you. And so that I remember that aha moment, like yeah. Um,
Uh-huh.
you go to the job with your degree, but they still won't hire you because they say you don't have the experience.
Yeah,
And your experience is priceless.
yeah, absolutely. And so take me to the next phase where you now are coaching women in resiliency. Tell me what that looks like.
So teaching women um, about being resilient, how to be resilient, how to actually look at whatever that scenario is for what it is, being true to themselves, accepting that, you know what, they're not the only one. Sometimes we're our biggest critic, most times we are our biggest critic, and we also do ourselves more harm because we feel isolated. We feel that, oh, it's just me, woe is me. And that is a negative spiral that keeps you from stepping out of that scenario. It keeps you from recognizing other opportunities to do better, to pull yourself out of. And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes just recognizing that it's not just you. Like I remember, in just case in point, um, the hustle in the morning, the struggle to get the kids to school and be at work on time. And there's only but so many hours that you could scale off of your sleep, and still be functional in your day without some added caffeine or something. And so, what did that need to look like? But the hustle to make sure that breakfast was together, lunch was together, we got out on time, we drag and get in there, drop them off and then get where I need to get. And then, just like a fly on the wall, hear other mothers of all other races and ethnic backgrounds talk about the same thing. I wanted to lay down on the floor and laugh and kick up my feet like a kid, like, oh my God, you're beating yourself up
Right,
so much thinking it's just
right.
you. It's
You
everybody.
right.
That is so simplistic,
It is so
yet it's
good.
something that as mothers, and women generally could really struggle with, and be their own, worst advocate in that sense.
Right.
So important to recognize where you are, important to recognize that you're not alone, and important to think about, well, how could you do it differently? And if it
Mhm.
didn't happen in that moment, what would be the worst, possible case scenario about that? What would be so bad? You
Right.
know?
We beat ourselves up. We set ourselves on a to standard that we don't hold other people to.
Hmm.
And when you realize, I don't think there's any story that has been told that someone else hasn't already gone through. But we believe the lie that it is only us. And
Yes.
we believe that it's a secret that I can't share it because somehow it's going to, reflect negatively on ourselves. But when you get to the point where you realize, you know what, that same story that someone else had, I also have it. And so now it's becomes now not so much normalized, but it's normal to have struggle, right? Who
Right.
put and somebody in the chat put normal. It's normal to have struggle. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. It's normal to have struggle. Don't struggle alone and find somebody to help. And so, Kisha, with that, I want you to share how can folks contact you if they are looking to accessorize their life both on the inside through resiliency coaching or on the outside with the Exotic Gems Boutique.
I can be reached via email. That would be imaniroots@gmail.com. It's IMANI ROOTZ at gmail.com. That
Awesome.
would be the best way. Yes. And
Awesome.
if you're on Facebook, I can also receive messages on Facebook also through the messenger.
Awesome. So I'm going to have you say the contact information one more time. I'm going to have the moderator put that in the chat for us.
Imani Roots at gmail.com. That's IMANIROOTZ at gmail.com.
Awesome. Okay. So as a final question, so the name of the show is Up Sis Up. And so as you hear that, based on your experience, your life experience, what does that mean to you?
What does
Up Sis Up.
it means? Girl, let's keep this show moving. We don't have any time to waste. We're not sitting down. Let's go. And no one left behind.
Ah, that's right. I love it. And if I could add, it also means bling it up, both on the inside, but also on the outside. So,
Yeah.
Kisha Carrington, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for the confidence. Thank you for the power that you have imparted to those that are under the sound of our voice. I look forward to hearing all about what it is that you're doing, what's coming up next. I will see you on in these, as we say, in these social media streets. And I wish you all the best. Until next time, take care.
Thank you so much, and all the best to you too.
Thank you so much. And there you have it. This has been this week's episode of Up Sis Up, where we're helping women to rise up, to speak up, and then also to boss up in life and in the leadership. I am your host, Dr. Marcea, and I am the girl boss. And I specialize in helping professional women break out of their personal prison of a life. We're standing here behind the gates, and I help them to discover who they are, decide what they want, and then what? Deliver on your destiny. You can reach out to me by texting 410-705-7851 to get a free consultation. You can also follow me at my website at www.drmarcea.com. And so with that, enjoy the rest of your week and meet me back here every Tuesday on the MSE network. Go ahead and click the link to subscribe so you get all of the nuggets from Rich Live. You get all the nuggets you heard from Linda earlier, Lady L. We're going to hear from Cat Dave. We're going to hear from On the Ground with Danielle Brown. And we got Bridget in the house. Bridget, let me hear you. Let me hear you scream. And then we also, I'm missing somebody, TK Barlow, and we had some others that are joining the network. Rich Live is doing a fantastic job of pulling in the resources. So this is a one-stop shop, and we just cannot wait for you to hear and to see what we got going on. We got some stuff you don't even know we doing. All right. So with that, I want to say good night and have a wonderful week. Take care.